Good morning, everyone. My name is Paula McCain. I'm a recovery business advisor for the North Central Texas Small Business Development Center. We're the leading provider of assistance for small businesses. We are grant funded, and because of that, we are able to provide our services to you at no cost. Thank you for joining us today for What is Copy and Why You Need It to Grow. If you would, please put all questions in the chat room. I want to introduce Ashley Cook. Ashley has 13 years of sales, marketing, and analytics experience. She shifted into serving small business owners. She developed a copy for multi-million-dollar brands, social media influencers, and small startups. And she is a copywriter as well as a copy coach. She is a creator of Lane Copywriting. Ashley, welcome.
Thank you so much. All right. Let me get this up here and then we'll get going. Okay, so I thank you so much for the introduction. I'm so excited to meet with you and to share a little bit about what is copywriting and how can you use it to grow your business. So what we're going to cover today is what is copywriting, what is it not, some examples of it, and then when bad copy happens to good business owners, and why writing for business or for your business is hard to do. So then we'll transition into the must-have pieces for writing just top-notch, stellar copy. And if you have any questions along the way, please definitely ask for those. All right. So first, what is copywriting not? So I get this question periodically when I'm meeting with new clients, and there's a little bit of confusion around I'll get questions like, well, do you provide legal services? And the kind of copy that I'm going to talk to you about today is not that. This doesn't have anything to do with that C with the little circle around it. What this has to do is with writing for your business. So copywriting is all around writing in a way that persuades someone to take a specific action. So if you have a desired action that you want your reader to take, the words that you write to get them to take that is copywriting. So an action can be, hey, sign up for this webinar, or come sample one of our products, or make sure you order your pizzas this weekend if you're a pizza shop. Those are just a few examples. You could also have something that is simpler, like, hey, check out my latest blog, or I just about revamping your website, go click the link and check that out. So but at the heart of it, copywriting is all about selling and persuading someone to take that action towards eventually selling. So it can entertain, yes, but its primary function is to move people to that action. So some examples of copy. So what I like to share, the example I like to give on when people say, well, what is copy? Because that can be an unfamiliar term for a lot of folks, especially when you just get started into business, is imagine yourself walking through a zoo. And you go into the reptile section, where you walk inside, it's cool and it's dark, and you see all these aquariums around, and you walk up to one that's supposed to have all of these salamanders in it, but you don't see a single salamander. So you're looking and you're looking, and all of a sudden you see one, and then you see maybe another one, and then you see 20 of them. Copywriting or copy is a lot like that, where once you start to recognize it, you see it everywhere. Oh, great. I just saw, let me actually get the chat feature up here, because I am going to ask y'all some questions. All right. Yes, writing copy for social media and for websites. So we will definitely, I'll give you some tips that will help with that. So let's just dive into a little bit, just some examples on what is copy. So emails, you probably see this every day in your inbox. And maybe you even send them out for your business. But emails, whether it's newsletters or you're doing a specific email campaign, that's a type of copy. Websites, what about, what's about you, what's about your business, all that information that that your followers or your Googlers can go in and look at and read. So websites are another great form of copy. Landing pages is another one. And just a quick clarification on landing pages and how that's different from a website is, let's say that you are you are a you're a health coach in the area, and you offer one-on-one coaching, and you're about to start a group coaching program, and you want people to sign up for this one particular program. Well, your website will have all of your information on it. It'll have your all of your services, your one-on-one, your group. If you sell products or supplements, it'll tell about you. It'll have contact information. It's just kind of, it'll have reviews, things like that. Your total A to Z. A landing page is where people go to learn and to sign up for one specific thing. So a landing page in this example would be all about all designed. It's a certain type of structure to get you to buy that into that one group coaching program. So it's with a specific purpose, and it's just one standalone page. Social posts and your social media bios are another example. Postcards, magazines, printed ads, these are all other kinds of examples. You don't even have to look far for copy. I, the other day, checked my email, or checked my mailbox, and I had, a little postcard here from Bath and Body Works, and it talks about their new Ultimate Hydration Body Cream. Well, all of this, the text in this little card, it's all copy, right? It's to create that sensory and to create that experience and entice you to go in and, as they say, try something new, to go in and sample that product. So you can find copy in your mailbox, in your inbox, when you're in your car driving down the road, if you're watching videos on YouTube, all those scripts, all of that is copy. So when you start looking at all the types of marketing and messaging that's out there, you'll notice that there is a variety in quality that you see, right? So what I like to say is, when bad copy happens to good business owners, what happens? So what happens when you're writing and what you're writing is not connecting and it's not resonating in the way that you want, and you're either getting, you're just not getting the results that you want, no matter how you write. It could have to do with your messaging and the way in which you're writing. So at best, when you have ineffective copy, you get crickets. And that is when people aren't engaging. Maybe they're not even seeing, like on social media, for example, maybe they're not even seeing your post, or they just lose interest and keep going. So you get no engagement, no likes, no responses if you're DMing people. It's crickets. It's falling flat somehow. Now, what typically happens, that's a best case scenario, is that it's quiet, right? But there's also the side of, when you have ineffective copy, what it can cost you is you can actually repel your ideal client or customer. So what happens is, you're writing in a way that rubs your ideal client the wrong way and actually turns them off of you. And once they walk, a lot of times they just walk, and they may not. It's much harder to bring them back once they've been repelled. Another risk that you run is that you could draw in the wrong type. So this has to do with your messaging and how you're writing and who you're attracting. So let's say that, using that health coach example, let's say that you are a coach for athletes, and you're writing, you're wanting to write in a way that draws in, a younger athlete, but you're getting in a different crowd. Maybe you're getting someone who is, like just outside of your target demographic. Maybe they're not athletes and they're not good fits for your services. Maybe maybe they were former athletes, but that's not really their thing anymore. So that could just be tweaking your messaging and how you're using your words to draw in the exact type of client that you want to have, or customer that you want in. But at the end of the day, when you have ineffective copy, you're losing out money and your business isn't growing. So when I ask my clients, what do they think that not having like powerful copy for their business is costing them? I get a range somewhere between 50 to 70,000, and that's typically for 50 to 70,000 a year, and that's for the solopreneur. That's for the one who's doing it themselves. So the stakes get higher as you start to expand in your business and have multiple employees. That dollar amount goes up. So it's important to make sure that that you're learning how to write for your business, and you're learning in a way and using the techniques in a way to relate to your client or your customer. So the challenge though is, have you ever sat down to write and you're like, I want to write something and I want to write it and it's going to be amazing, it's going to be powerful, it's going to connect, but you sit down at your keyboard and you just blank out. You don't know where to begin. You don't know like what to say, how to say it. Maybe you don't even know. You have a general vague idea of a topic. You just try to write and it's hard. So I call this the sludge, and I see it happen a lot with very passionate entrepreneurs and business owners. You could talk to them all day long. Like I could talk to you all day long. Actually, I would be listening to you all day long about your business and why you're so passionate, and why you want to make a difference in people's lives. And whether if you're a pizza shop owner and you want to make sure that family night every weekend is full of delicious food and you're creating fun lasting memories, or you're a boutique owner and you just want to help women feel more confident in what they wear, like you have no problem talking it about your passions to me, right? But something happens when you sit at the keyboard, and all that passion, like in your mind and in your mouth, has to travel like down your arm, into your hand, through your fingers, and into the keyboard. But something happens like along that way that just slows it down. And by the time it gets to your fingers, it's just, you're paralyzed. So if that happens to you, or if you feel like when you do write, because sometimes you may feel like you are a good writer, but maybe it's too wordy, maybe it's too it feels too complicated, or like you have that passion and you're able to get something out on paper, but it just isn't quite working. Somehow it's just not reflecting really what you want, or it's continuing to fall flat and draw those crickets in. I want you to know that it's probably not your fault. So I want to encourage you to know that it's tough to write well and write powerfully for your business. So what you're doing is not easy, but it's absolutely doable. And I believe that you have what it takes to write powerfully for your business. But first, I want to help you understand why it's really hard. So when you think about how we were taught to write, so think about all the way back into high school, if you went to college or got some additional certifications and stuff along the way, think about how you were taught to write. Let's go back to like middle school English. So you were learning formal grammar. You were learning about things like participial phrases and gerunds, and you don't end with prepositions. You don't you dare begin with the word but or and. You have long, lengthy words and sentences. When you're writing research papers, you have your topic sentence and then all those the supporting sentences underneath. And so you're writing really robust, kind of elaborate words, sentences, and paragraphs. It's formal, it's technical. You take the emotion out of it because you want to write in an objective way, and you're having to adhere to those strict, rigid grammar rules. So that's kind of how we've been taught to write. But then when you look at copywriting is the opposite of that in a lot of ways. So instead of those long, lengthy words, you have shorter is better. You only want to use just the amount of words it takes to get your point across and to inspire that action. And instead of writing in a very technical way, so if you have a research background or a technical background, if you're a roofer and there's a lot of technicalities and specialties that go into the craft that you do, but that's not necessarily like what you know and what you're an expert in isn't necessarily how people like every day talk on the street. So copywriting is writing how you talk. So you have to translate that a little bit. And then those strict, rigid grammar rules that we learned in school they don't always apply to copywriting. So grammar can chill out. You definitely still want to have your copy polished, but you want to make sure that it's still conversational, and it's okay to end sentences and prepositions or begin them with the word and or but. And I know your English teachers are probably cringing right now, but that's the essence of copywriting. You want to write in a way that's conversational because the goal is to keep your reader reading to the next sentence and the next sentence until they get to that point to where they're inspired to take action. But there's something else. So your upbringing really didn't help us. Didn't help you out, didn't help me out, didn't help any of us business owners out, right? But there's another piece that makes writing feel hard. And I want to provide an additional encouragement on this, is that you're trying to do a lot at once. And I see this happen with a lot of business owners, is that they put so much pressure on themselves to get to get the words out right the first time. And, so many of them just like throw their hands up and say, I'm too frustrated. I don't want to, I'll deal with this later. And then later never comes. And so they're inconsistent on social media. They never send out those emails. They're not, writing and getting those postcards out in the mail consistently. And it's because copywriting is actually, when you write for your business, you're doing 4 different jobs all at once. So what I want to do is talk through what those roles are. And then we'll transition into, okay, so what do you do with that? So the 4 roles, they form the acronym ASAP, ASAP, and I'll walk you through what each of those are. So the first A is around actor. Now, the first role or this actor role isn't what like you see on TV or what you're streaming on Netflix. It's not so much about getting on stage and performing as it is what actors do before they ever get on stage. And that is really around the character analysis. So that's getting to know your ideal client and getting beyond just the basics, blonde hair, blue eyes, in their 40s, professional, overworked, overstressed, that kind of persona. Is really digging deep into what keeps them up at night. What are they struggling with? Who do they aspire to become? What does that life look like for them? What are they struggling with today? What keeps them from becoming who they aspire to be? And how do those hangups present themselves, specifically in their lives? So the actor part is really around deepening that understanding and really getting into the shoes of who your ideal or your perfect client or customer is. The S in ASAP stands for shrink, and that's the next role that I'll talk to you about. So this one is around the psychology of the psychological part of writing for your business, of writing copy. So it's think about the ways that you relate to people. It's ethically using the emotional techniques to build rapport, build trust, and be able to speak into the pain points that your customers or your clients are feeling, so that you can translate that into or you can connect them into the solutions that might be the best fit, the solutions that you offer. So the shrink part is all around those techniques and strategies and the structure that you can use to help, because ultimately people want to do business with those that they like, know, and trust, right? And the shrink part, the shrink role, helps to build that rapport and connect with them. Then we actually get to the author part, the writing part, where you just write the thing. So this is around when it comes to writing copy, it's not just like necessarily just doing a brain dump. There are actually like structures and I was reading a quote the other day where I think it was Eugene Schwartz. He's a copywriting guru, and he said that copy is not written, it's assembled. And I think what he was hitting at in that is that there is a structure to how you write, to a flow that you take people through. So the author is all about that. It's about formatting in a way that appeals to your different readers and leading them ultimately to that one call to action. And then we can't forget P for polisher. So this is all around getting your copy in kind of spit shined, if you will, and in a position where it's error free, ready to go out, and you don't have any small little grammar mistakes that are going to hang people up on, because they will notice them. They stick out like a sore thumb. So you don't want to overlook this part. And this is also where you check it for plagiarism. Plagiarism can hurt your brand. It hurts a number of things, but it can hurt your like your search engine optimization online. It hurts your brand, your credibility, things like that. So we cover all that in the polisher round. So we have those 4 roles, which is, actor, shrink, author, and polisher, and why it feels so challenging sometimes to write copy for your business. So what I wanted to ask, if you could drop it in the comments, what role do you struggle with the most when it comes to writing? Is it the actor part, the part where you're learning about your character or about your client or your customer, the emotional techniques, the actual writing part itself, or that polishing round and getting it all up to speed? So drop that in the comments and we'll see where you're at. All right. So what does this have to do with, like, okay, it's helpful to know that it's hard to write for your business. But what do you do? Like, what do you do with that? And how do you move through that? Knowing that, like I said before, like you do have what it takes to write powerfully for your business and to write it in a way that grows. So how can you start? So now what I'd like to do is first remind you that you have help. So know that the North Central Texas SBDC is here for you. They are here to help you with whatever, whether it's writing for your business or other aspects of your business. They are here to help support you. They have no cost confidential advising. So if you're facing a certain challenge and you want to overcome that so that you can clear the obstacles and skyrocket your business, they have resources that will help you. So they also have different trainings and tools to help you strengthen your skills and connect you to business solutions. Because as a business owner, we're in this together, right? And they are an incredible resource to help get you connected to those solutions so that you're not stuck figuring it out on your own and wasting precious time. They'll help you get connected quicker so that you can get back on that path to growth. So if you go to sbdc.nctc.edu or you call that number that you can see on the screen, then you can learn more about all the different trainings and and tools that they offer, and then also get set up to talk with an advisor at no cost and at no cost to you. So they are a wonderful resource. All right. So what I want to do now is go into, for each of those 4 roles, what are the must-have pieces of top-notch copy? So let me just check the comments and see who has dropped in, like, what's the hardest part before we get into these. So author may be more difficult. I want to be sure I'm sending the message I mean to send. Yes. So getting your messaging right is oftentimes one of the biggest battles to getting started. Having a message that resonates and knowing how to speak to your ideal client in a way that they're going to hear, and then how do you actually put that in a structure, in a format, that can be a big hang up for sure. But I'll definitely have some tips to help get you going on that author part. So let's start off with actor, though, the first A in the ASAP acronym. So this goes, the first tip on this is about knowing your audience and knowing them well. So one example I like to give to help kind of paint the picture of how well do you need to know your client is something that I actually just went through recently. So a few weeks ago, I threw out my back, and it was the most obnoxious thing in the world. And I don't know how I did it. I don't know, but it made me think of my chiropractor. And if he if he was going to create content or create copy that really focuses on, like, if he were to specialize in helping people with back pain, like, what would he say? And so let's say I was his ideal client. Sure, he could map me out as a woman, a professional woman who is busy, has lots of stuff going on, is in and out. He can kind of keep it at that surface level, but what I would encourage him to do would be to go deeper. So how do you do that? Well, this professional woman, so me, I'm a copywriter and a copy coach, so I spend a lot of time working at a desk job. And when you work at a desk job, your hip, like your muscles around your hips and your core, can get weakened because you're not standing up or using them. You're not, they just kind of go inactive because you're sitting there. So he might write copy around what it's like to sit for hours at a keyboard or at a computer, and how you get, his target audience, how you get into the zone, and before you know it, hours have passed and you've not gotten up to stretch. And when you do stand up, you feel a little stiff. You feel, maybe your bones are a little crackly because you just haven't moved them in a while. But then let's say that, if it was me several weeks ago when I threw out my back, he would get very specific, and instead of saying, I provide relief for back pain, which is very vague, he could actually write copy that speaks into how does the back pain look for me? So how the back pain looks for me, what he would write might be quite different than how it would look for, a male who's, 20 years older, or maybe for a younger mom who has back pain. You're going to use different words. So for me, it might be, you roll out of bed and you expect to spring up, but your breath catches as you stiffen because you feel that muscle just clenching in your back. or mine was so bad that like I had to use this is so annoying. I had to use a cane for a couple days just to like get up off the couch because it really did something in my hips. And so he might write copy around how do you or like, are you tired of having to lean on a cane or lean on your partner or lean on a counter just to pull yourself up off the couch? Like those are very specific, visceral descriptors of what that pain point is like for your client. So know your audience, know them well, know the pain points. So speak into those pain points, but get specific. Don't just keep it at they have back pain. But how does that back pain, always ask, like, how does that problem show up specifically in their life? And then also connect them to their dreams and goals. What would it be like to spring out of bed with energy and flexibility? How would it be to be able to not be afraid of sneezing because like the muscles in your back tense, and when you throw your back out, you have to brace yourself because it hurts. How would it feel to go about your day, getting in and out of your car and not having to worry about like your muscles spasming, like you just feel very flexible and loose. And so, or you feel the strength, actually feel the strength in your core. So make sure to connect in your copy. Don't just sit with them in their pain. That is excellent for building rapport and helping your ideal customer or client to know that you get them. But you got to connect them to the dreams and the goals, because that has to do with the solutions you offer. Because like you can help them achieve their goals and get to become the person they want to become by working with you or partnering with you or buying your products or services. So make sure that you always connect them to that future aspirational state as well. All right, so shrink. So these four roles don't exist individually in silos. They overlap. So the actor and the shrink role actually overlap, because once you get to know your patient, then you know how you can start to speak to them, or your patient, your client, your customer. You can actually start to use some more of those emotional techniques and emotion and relatability within your copy to build that relationship. So because it's all about building rapport. So as I mentioned before, people do business with those they like, know, and trust. So as you're able to build rapport in your copy, and whether it's through shared experiences or sharing a bit about who you are and being vulnerable about you as a business owner, or connecting into their pain points to show that you understand them and you get them, that builds rapport, and that builds the trust and like factor with them. So then whenever you do use some of those emotional techniques, you can, and ethically, and I say ethically because there's what I call like the dark side of copy, like the Darth Vader copy, where and we've all seen it before, and it feels gross, right? Like you don't want to feel salesy, you don't want to feel slimy, you absolutely don't want to feel like manipulative, because when you're talking about someone's pain points, or you're talking about someone who you're trying to connect them to become a better version of themselves, or live a better life, or create better memories, or whatever that is that you're providing with your products and services, you take that's a big responsibility, and you want to make sure that we don't like it whenever we're sold to, and feeling like we can sniff like salesiness like a mile away. Your customers can too, but building that rapport and being authentic and connecting with them and using emotion and using that in a way that's ethical and careful shows that you care ultimately about them, and you never want to sacrifice a person for the sale. And so the emotional techniques are all around that. So the last point I want to camp out on with shrink is the psychology part is around features and benefits. So you may have heard the saying, features tell, but benefits sell. And it's so true. I've seen people, and I've done it even myself, where I've bought something without even knowing the features of the product, but I was so sold on what that could do for me that I was like, I'll know the features later. I want those benefits. So, but a lot of times it's hard to know what's a feature, what's a benefit, right? Like, how do you actually start to break that down? So what I like to always recommend is, if you want, you can start out with your features. So if you let's take a pillow. for example. So you have a pillow and let's say it is, I don't know all the features of pillows, but it's stuffed with the finest down feathers, and it's organic cotton on the outside, and stitched, hand stitched, and it's it's the softest pillow that can help. I can guarantee you like a sound night's sleep, something like that. But the features on that would be, the down is stuffed with the highest quality of organic free range goose feathers. I'm making this up. And it has the, not Egyptian, well, it could be Egyptian, organic cotton, a fabric on the outside, and is hand stitched. So those are three of the features that the pillow has. Oh, and it has like a heating and cooling, like technology built within it. So those are features. And those are really helpful, but they don't really paint a strong picture of what that pillow is going to do for a person. So if you start off, what you can do is start off with those features and then write a sentence next to it that just says, well, how is that going to help? Like, why should my customer care? So let's start with the goose down, the feathers. So that is, a perfectly contoured pillow to that molds around your head and your neck to provide support and keep you from waking up without a crick in your neck. So every morning you'll wake up feeling refreshed and supported. Let's say it's organic cotton. So it's a pillow that you can trust, where it's the softest quality. So it's soft. So I'm thinking you can probably do something around like you can sleep without worry of from harsh chemicals, and it's the softest for the highest of quality for the most sensitive of skin. You can talk about the hot and cold technology and how you don't have to wake up feeling like you're drenched in sweat, or if you're having hot flashes. So it's great for if a woman's having a hot flash. It keeps her cool at night so she can continue sleeping soundly no matter what her hormones or her body, how it might be changing. So those are examples of how you can take the features of your product and translate them into benefits. So, but I recommend starting out with your features and then just go line by line and start saying, well, why does that matter? Why does having organic, fabric, organic cotton fabric on a pillow make a difference? All right, any questions so far? Just feel free to drop them into the chat, and I'll answer them as I go, or I'll catch them all at the end. All right, so author. So this is the one where the author can, like, this can hang up. So there's a lot of pressure that we feel to get the first draft out perfectly. And as we write, we edit as we go. And it's torture, right? Because we feel like we have to get it out perfectly. And I've been guilty of this like earlier on in my career where I had a hard time getting started because I didn't know, I wanted it to come out perfectly the first time. It's like perfect in my head, but getting it out onto words is a totally different thing. Because again, you're fighting your training, like in school, you're fighting, those 4 roles, like these 4 roles, all of that. So, excuse me. The goal of the first draft, the only goal of the first draft is to just get it out of you, get it out of your head, brain dump it onto into a document, and just start. And if you have an outline, sometimes what'll help me get going is I create just a several bullet point outline, and that helps to provide a structure so it's not just like some free for all word dump. So one of the things that I do is I will grab my phone, and I was looking for my phone just now, and but I always keep my phone near me, and when I know I need to write, I will open up either an email to myself, or I'll have Google Docs on my phone, and then I'll hit the microphone button. Now I'm not voice recording, I'm just doing the transcription, like if you were to voice text someone. And in that email, I'll just start talking through what it is I want to say. One of the the benefits of this is whenever you're writing out, like whenever you're getting it out of your head first. So you're actually just getting the thing written, which, there's a quote that I love by Jodi Picoult, and she said, you can always edit a bad page, but you can't edit a blank page. So take the pressure off yourself and get that first draft out. Now, when you're doing it through a voice recording or voice texting, it also helps you to be more conversational. So if you struggle with writing in a very technical way or feeling like you're putting in too much jargon, things like that, try doing the voice dictation, because that will help you to get conversational, because you're going to be speaking how you normally talk. It's going to be more conversational. It gets it out of that formality. Now, I do recommend doing the voice dictation over voice recording, because you don't have a lot of time anyway. You're busy, you own your own business. Your time isn't like, you probably don't have tons and tons of time to just sit around and do that recording and then go and transcribe it or run it through a transcription service and decipher what they're saying. So I always do the dictation, and it just saves you those steps. All right. The next one is around spending time on your headline or on your hook. So there is a marketing guru that I follow that, or I read, I pour over his stuff. His name is David Ogilvy, and he is famous for saying that 80% of people will read your headline and only 20% will read the rest of your text. And that is largely because the goal and the purpose of a hook or your headline is to capture people's attention, create that intrigue, and convince them and persuade them to keep reading. And so that's why so few continue reading, is because the headline didn't necessarily hook them. So make sure to spend time on your hook or your headline. Again, when you're drafting, the goal is to just get it out. So I like to have a working headline that I just have that reflects what's in the actual copy. And then once I'm done, I'll go back and write several drafts and work on really optimizing that headline. And once, because then it's just far easier to write the title at the end once you've kind of seen how the copy itself will kind of morph and maybe evolve a little bit. So you can just tighten it up on the back end. Now, one way to help with there's online tools that can help you. You can Google different templates. You can use different optimizer tools. But what I like to recommend is to write several versions of your headline and play with that. And I can share more on the headlines and hooks to come. But make sure you do spend time on your headline. And that headline or hook can be the title of a blog. It can be your email subject line. It can be the headline on a social post, something that's attention grabbing and actually reflects what's in the copy. Because you don't want to do something that's attention grabbing that is like clickbait, where you go to click it and then the piece is actually not, like your reader goes to click it and what you wrote about doesn't actually match the headline. So you want to make sure that it does actually reflect. All right. The last piece is around including one clear call to action per piece. So a couple of notes on this is, so you don't have to have a call to action for every single like social media post you put out there. Like you don't necessarily, it starts to feel like disingenuous if you do that. But if you're writing a blog, if you're writing a newsletter, if you're writing a social post or an email or on your website, if you want your reader to take an action, you've got to tell them what that action is. And don't overwhelm them with many options. Just give them one clear direction. So for example, let's say you are like on your, like on a website, let's say that you're a counselor and the goal of your website is to give your readers enough information to show that you're a credible authority in your field, that you are a good fit for what they're looking for, that you specialize in couples counseling or marital issues, or maybe it's trauma recovery, something like that. But what you want them to do, what you want your readers to do, the one action you want them to take on your website is you want them to book a consultation with you. So you'll include throughout your website on your different pages a very clear call to action button that has where the color is, where it's set apart, whether through text or colors, somehow visually set apart, that says, let's talk, or book your complimentary consultation. change up that call to action throughout your website, but it points them to the one action you want them to take, which is book a consult. Now the same goes in social media, but social media captions, you're limited on, you can't do color pop outs on text and stuff, but depending on the platform that you can use emojis to highlight, you can type in caps, you can put asterisks around the action, but make sure that they know what action, don't assume that they know what to do with the piece. It may seem obvious on your end, but you live and breathe every day in your business, and your reader doesn't. So your goal in writing is to remove all the obstacles out of the way that would keep an ideal client from working with you. So make sure that they know what action to take. Now it can feel bossy at first to say, sign up here now or click this today, but start noticing in your own emails or the emails that you receive in your own inbox, start noticing where they're including the call to action. Start noticing the how they're planting seeds along the way. Start becoming a student of the copy that you receive, and start really picking out like what you don't like, what you want to try. In their subject line for a hook, for example, are they using an emoji in their subject line? Chances are probably not. So maybe in your emails, you want to try an emoji so that it stands out in the inbox. Are they personalizing it? Are they asking a question? What are some buzzwords that really stand out and draw you? Start being a student of your copy so you can learn of the copy you're receiving just as a person, so that you can start getting ideas and tips on how to write for yourself and for your business. All right, so some comments are, it's tricky to find the balance between being persuasive and sounding too adsy. Yeah. It is a fine balance, because it's you don't want to sound too pushy, right? You want to write persuasively, and there's some subtleties with that. But if you're being too pushy, that can be an absolute turnoff as well. So one way you can do that is through you can do it through storytelling. So you can tell, like if you're writing a post, tell about a specific story or example of where someone, like came into your shop, and let's say you sell vitamins, you're a vitamin supplement, you have a vitamin supplement store, and you had someone come in who, was just feeling really low energy, and they just wanted something to give them pep in their step, and they just, they were like, they just weren't, feeling right, but somehow y'all clicked and you were able to help connect them to the right products and the right solutions. And then they came back in, they came bounding in, a month later, and you didn't even recognize them. And they was like, hey, it's me. Don't you remember I came in? And they look like a totally different person. And what you could do is you could write a post about that and just describe the story. People love stories. And then you could end it with, hey, we're running a special on these energy products. They made a difference in this customer's life. I know, and they can help you too. And then, comment below or pop in our store to so like, let's talk and you can learn more. You can, grab your bottle, a bottle of this today, like something like that. And that's a very non-salesy, non-pushy way of connecting people to solutions, is using stories. So that's one way that you can try. I feel like I can always see the sell in others' content, but I lose out on the sale because I'm not pitching anything. Yeah, it's once you're like, we can smell the sell, right? And we can see it a mile away. And sometimes, but it's not always bad when we can see the sell, right? And if you're a business, like, like people know and people expect that, you're not hiding that you're selling anything, and that's okay to sell. So you do need to have that call to action. You do need to connect them with their, with the solutions and how and articulate like how your solutions help them achieve their dreams and their aspirations. And it's okay to talk about what it is that you offer, but there's a balance between, so like on social media, for example, you don't want to on any of your stuff, you don't want to over promote, but like on social media, the balance that I recommend for clients or for business owners, entrepreneurs, is to do, 80% value, 20% sale or pitch. So, have your post, 4 of your, like if you post every day in the week, like 5 days a week, have 4 of your posts be around something that offers them value that's within your area. So let's say you're, I'll give a pizza shop because I don't know why, but I'm currently in like a pizza phase right now. You can talk about, if you were to home make your own pizza, because when people buy versus make, they're going for a different experience. So it doesn't always conflict. What are some things you want to make sure and look out for? Or what you could actually do, what could be fun is, because you know the industry, because you're in the pizza industry, you could say, 4 surprising things you don't know when you order a pizza. And then you could go into like the quality of the flour, the quality of the meat ingredients. What are those unknown things? You could create some really cool, captivating posts that help to set you apart from other pizza shops. So, in our shop, we use like imported Italian flour, and we specialize in making, pizza from Napoli. And you can kind of go into some of those. You can actually share about you by kind of creating value, but without necessarily pitching. But then, on that 5th post, you can make make an offer, make a pitch. Hey, don't forget to get your orders in before the weekend, or don't forget, like, we're running a special, order today, that kind of thing. It's just going to be a balance to see what resonates with your audience, but try with that 80-20 rule and play around with that, so that you don't always feel like you're pitching all the time, because people get tired and they'll bail on your site if you're always pitching all the time. So create that value, show behind the scenes of your business, show a face of the business, go live, do videos, post, content about that put a face and kind of humanize who your business is. Because again, people want to do business with those they like, know, and trust. All right. We'll wrap it up by going to the polisher round. So on the polisher round, so at this point, when you hit this roll, you'll have already gotten your first draft out. You'll have, optimized your headline. You'll have the call to action. You have kind of like a good solid, structure, and you're ready to, you're almost ready to hit send, or hit publish, or hit post. So what are some of those key things that you want to make sure and do whenever you're polishing out your copy? So make sure that your punctuation, your spelling, your grammar, all of that is on point. You can use free tools like Grammarly to run your copy through to catch anything that you might miss. If you like to edit yourself, you can hire editors to off of Upwork or Fiverr to edit your copy for you, or you run it through Grammarly, or print. What I like to do is I'll print mine out and read it, because there's something about the eye that we can catch mistakes when they're printed easier than if we're just like reading, because we end up skimming on digital quite a bit. So just make sure that your copy is error free. Another point is, in that polisher round, is to make sure that you're in the middle grade reading zone. So I see this a lot of times with business owners who are more technical, or offer more advanced services. They'll end up putting in jargon, or have like lengthy, complex sentences, and it's like it just flies over the head of their reader. So there's one tool that I use all the time. I use it multiple times a week still, just as a double check, is it's hemingwayapp.com. So if you just go to your browser, type in hemingwayapp.com, it's a free tool that you can use to grade your copy. So you just copy and you paste it in, and it's a wonderful, wonderful tool. And you just paste your copy in, and what it does is it will color code. Like, if first it will grade your actual copy. So it'll tell you if you're like a post grad, grade 12, grade 3, grade 7. So first look at that and see what grade level you're coming in at. And you want to make sure it's a middle school range. So think of it as, if you had to describe what you do to your like 5th grade neighbor, the kid next door, how would you write, how would you talk about your business to them? But the hemingwayapp.com site will help to say, okay, you're in this zone. But it doesn't stop there. It'll actually color code all the text in your copy that you need to work on. So which I love because then it's like, okay, well, I know I need to bring it down, but where do I need to actually focus on working? So the Hemingway app will flag the sentences in your copy that are hard to read or very hard to read. So I would start there. And a lot of times those sentences are complicated because you might be trying to stuff too much in one sentence. So try to break apart those sentences into 2 to 3 smaller ones. The tool will also flag if you have like overly complicated words. So one example of this is the word utilize. So we don't ever like really, I've only met one person in my career who uses the word utilize in everyday normal conversation. Otherwise, we just say use. So the Hemingway app will actually color code the words that you could simplify down and will provide you alternatives if you hover over it. It'll also flag words that are like your adverbs, because you want to watch your adverbs. If you have too many of those, that can start to dilute your copy. So the Hemingway app will flag those. And it'll also color code if you're writing in the passive voice, because as much as you can, you want to write in the active. So it'll point you there on where you need to kind of spot treat your copy. Now, one quick tip that you won't learn unless you just do it, and I've learned this, and so I want to pass this last little tip on to you on the Hemingway app tool is I always keep like my documents up side by side, so I'll have one that has the Hemingway app and then one like my Google Doc or email or whatever you're drafting it in, and I'll make the changes in Hemingway and then I'll make them in my Google Doc, because if you have any formatting in your actual copy, when you copy and paste from Hemingway back into your Google Doc, it brings all that formatting and all that color coding over. So I just like to make those side by side, but it's up to you on if you want to do that or not. Okay, and then the last tip is around formatting for easy reading. So when you're writing your copy, you're writing for 3 main audiences. You're writing for the in-depth reader, and they're the one who pores over every single word and they want to read everything. And they're just dedicated to the last like period at the end of your copy. You have the skimmer, and I'm guilty of skimming. I just like to skim through. They're the ones who just want to hit the high notes throughout your copy. And then you have your third audience, which is Google, and that has to do with SEO optimization. So when you are looking at writing for these 3 audiences, you want to make sure that your copy is formatted, because there's nothing more unattractive. I mean, I'm sure there are like a couple more things unattractive, but one of the most repelling things that you can do is write a big block of text. So how can you format? What are some tips and tricks on how to format for your skimmer, and how to make it more pleasant for your in-depth reader too? So a couple things. One, make sure that your sentences are short and snappy, and that your paragraphs are short as well. One of the things I always strongly recommend is look at your copy on your desktop and on your phone, because what looks like a short paragraph on your desktop will actually look quite long on mobile. And I think they have some sites, and I'm blanking on the URL at this time, but there are some sites where you can actually like enter in and view how your copy looks, or like a website looks on different devices. But otherwise, you can just, if you use Google Docs, you can just pull up Google Docs on your phone like you have on your desktop. But you want to make sure your paragraphs are short, like in length, so no more than 4 or 5 lines long on your mobile phone. And then, because over half of us use our mobile phones to view websites and social media, and also people aren't surfing so much on their desktops, or as much today on their desktops as they were, years ago. They're using their phones more. So optimize for your mobile. So in addition to short, snappy paragraphs and short, snappy sentences, also look for ways where you can list things out, where you can use bullet points. That helps, again, with skimmability, and it helps to break up those longer paragraphs into shorter chunks. Also, don't be afraid to play around with bolding or italicizing keywords or phrases that you want people to pay attention to. So that works great if you're doing emails or blogs or website copy. You can do that formatting on social media too if you have those right tools, but really look for those keywords or phrases that you want their eyes to draw to, because having that formatting also helps throughout the copy to keep the reader moving along. And then also, if you have your call to action, one of the ways you can format that is you can bold it, you can hyperlink it, you can create a button, something that visually calls out that you have this is a call to action, and because you don't want that call to action to get buried in a bunch of text all around it. You really want that to be crystal clear and where they can easily see it and click it and take action on it. All right, so writing for social media is harder for me because my writing style is for print, trying to find the right balance in context, in content and details, considering people have a short attention span. Yes, so when it comes to your website, you have less than 10 seconds to capture people's attention. On social media, it's, you have a few seconds too. So how do you do that? The formatting, the headline hook will be key to keeping, to grabbing the attention. But then formatting and making sure that your copy is easily readable and that your reading level is in that middle school range. Those are things that you really do want to focus in on to make sure that your words aren't creating a barrier for people to engage with your stuff. So that's one way that you can keep people moving along, is to make sure that it's spaced out. Now on social media, if you're creating a post, that's all about keeping those paragraphs short. And when it comes to Instagram versus Facebook, don't be afraid to lean into emojis on Instagram. They're more emoji friendly. It's more of a casual kind of place. You have a younger demographic on Instagram. So if you want to create bullets, use emojis to bullet those points out. If you want to have a call to action, use the finger, pointing in on your call to action sentence. Facebook, you can still, for sure use emojis, just a little bit less because it can be distracting on Facebook. But Instagram is very emoji friendly, and that's one way to kind of help with formatting on your copy. All right, that wraps up what we talked. So what we covered today is what is copywriting, what is copywriting not, examples of copy, when bad copy happens to good business owners, and why it's so hard to write for your business. And then we walked through some resources that are available to you with the SBDC, and then gave you some tips on how to get to know your audience better, how to emotionally connect with them, how to write and structure your copy, and then how to polish it out before you hit send. So on the screen, you'll see different ways that you can get in touch with me. If you want to get more free tools and tips, I have a link there. And I'll also include that link in a one-page handout that's available for you as well, so that you can get connected into more of my go-to tools that I use all the time in my copywriting. So I will unshare now and hand it back over. Unless there's any other questions, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm so glad it was helpful. Let me stop sharing there.